Khephren Thuram's the name on everybody's lips now. You mentioned before, the impatience of signing McAllister. Well, what's next? It felt like Khephren Thuram. There's been a variety of reporting and social media buzz and all kinds. Deals agreed, deals not agreed, terms agreed, terms not agreed. Now, in your report, I think I'm going to semi-quote you here. You said senior sources of Liverpool have dismissed speculation. They've already agreed personal terms with the players' representatives. I think that's important to say because Liverpool have been bitten in the past by leaks and stories and things going wrong. Nice to have some clarification on it, I suppose. That again, where do you think where are we at with this whole situation? And is that just a nutshell? Liverpool might like him, but that's about where we're at.
Yeah, they certainly really like him. I think that's the thing. Sometimes with these things, people jump to conclusions. They're like, "Oh, you said Thuram's not happening." It's like, at no point have I said it's not happening. It's just not on the brink. I was reading reports last week that the player side was already done, and it was just a case of dotting a few I's and crossing a few T's. With Nice, that's not the case. Of course, they've had discussions with Thuram's representatives in the same way as some of those other names on that shortlist. You think of Kone and Vega and Lavia and Gravenberch, of course, at Bayern, who they really like. But I think the Gravenberch one is, unless Bayern's stance changes, up to this point, Bayern have been pretty adamant that they're not willing to sell him. So yeah, I think when you look at Thuram, you can understand why Liverpool are interested. And he certainly is on that list. It's not as far down the road, I've been told, as some people have suggested. And that doesn't mean that next week it could be very well and truly a long way down the road. Obviously, there's the slight added complication of the under-21s Euros, which could have an impact, because I think most of the players on that shortlist actually are involved in that tournament. So I think unless anything happens imminently, you're probably looking at when those players' involvement in the tournament comes to an end. But and it's just a very different dynamic, I think, the Thuram one to, say, McAllister, because with McAllister, it was very much about, because of the clause in his contract, if you can do the deal with the player, then effectively you've done the deal, because the club-to-club bit was always going to be straightforward. This is different because, Nice, you want to get, if they do sell Thuram, they want to get absolute maximum for him. So, it probably suits their agenda, really, to, especially if he ends up having a great tournament.
Yeah.
And I just get the impression from Liverpool's perspective, since the McAllister one, there's, I know people are like eager for the next one, but it's like, what is it, 3 weeks at least until, anyone reports back for pre-season? If we're still in a situation come the second week in July when it's only McAllister, then I think it would be quite understandable to be frustrated. But yeah, not at the moment.
It also feels, James, like Liverpool can, if they really wanted to, like, think these things go quite quickly. It happened with McAllister, where the button, right, it's happening. I mean, you can do a lot of the legwork before it goes. I think we saw that with McAllister. The chat about him, obviously from yourselves and all the reporters, were like, yeah, there's interest, there's nothing, and then bang, it happens quite quickly. So you're right, it does feel like these things can change very, very quickly. Like, say, Liverpool are saying there's no agreement now. That doesn't mean there's not an agreement. We had Neil Jones, obviously a colleague in the past of yours, who said last week, like, Liverpool, when he asked about Benjamin Pavard, they were like, no, that you can rule that one out. We're not really getting that with these ones. Does that make sense? Like, it does feel like say, it can change relatively quickly. It just takes one agreement, one call, one bit of business, and it can, we could be sat here in 6 hours and this story could evolve quickly. But
yeah,
the fact that he's away with France, does that, like you mentioned before, does that maybe reduce the chances of that? I don't know, obviously, because there's a third party involved. It's not just Nice and Liverpool and Thuram. Actually, a fourth party. It's the French national squad are involved in this as well. They've got to, if there's medicals or contracts or training sessions, all that kind as well. That might be the reason why, people might have to be a bit patient, I suppose.
Yeah. I think there's certainly an element of that in terms of, these international fixtures, are a bit of a stumbling block to any club trying to get deals done at the moment. So, and there just isn't that sense of, I know, like, I get a lot of people on social media saying, well, just pay whatever, just get the deal done, pay whatever. And it's like, well, that's not really how negotiations work, is it? And it's, as I said, it's not like there is a set fee that you pay. Nice want to maximise whatever they can get for him. Liverpool, obviously, if they decide to push the button on it, they want to they want to get value themselves. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that there hasn't been a quick resolution to that one. You know, he is widely admired by Liverpool's recruitment staff, and it's just a case of I think I was told it was for Schumacher, obviously now the complete takeovers happen now from Julian Ward to him, and you've got him having discussions with lots of clubs and lots of agents, establishing exactly what is possible and at what price, and then at some point Liverpool will have to decide to push the button on at least one of those, and I think it'll be we know there'll be at least one more midfielder. I think probably two. But I think how much they probably spend on the first one will have then a knock-on effect in terms of the second one. But obviously, I think the relatively low fee for McAllister gives them a fair bit of room for manoeuvring as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What's interesting, and I love this from a reporting point of view, don't mind, is that usually with Liverpool's target, it's a specific player. So, for example, a Tchouaméni or a Van Dijk or Alisson, they weren't looking at other goalies. It was them or nothing. This year, the fact that you've just mentioned there's 5 names that you just rolled off, having already signed Alexis McAllister. Like, it does feel like Liverpool have maybe, I don't know, cast a wide net. Is that how you're maybe interpreting this as well? And then I'm guessing within that 5, there's a preference of who they'd most like to, who they'd least like. Yeah. But the fact that they maybe can't afford not to get someone. But I suppose from your point of view, in the past where you're maybe reporting or chasing up, I suppose, like Van Dijk or Alisson, now it's like there's 5 people there. It's impossible to get information about all of these all the time. You know what I mean?
I think it's also part of it. I think is where the squad's at now, because I think previously the argument was always, well, this squad's operating at such a high level that there's a very small pool of players that could come in and improve things. And but I don't think that's the case now, because obviously just from a pure numbers perspective, you've lost 3 in Keita, Milner, Oxlade-Chamberlain, 4 if you count Arthur Melo, but I don't think anyone seriously thinks Arthur Melo needs to be replaced because of the minutes there.
Those 13 minutes in Napoli who's going to box that off?
So I think that's part of it. That obviously now there are a lot more players out there that could improve what Liverpool have got, and I think it's quite telling that those names that have been well documented, they're all of a similar ilk, aren't they, in terms of I think they're all 22 or under, all have caught the eye and performed at a decent level, but have got the kind of high ceiling that Klopp likes in terms of their best years still way ahead of them and kind of potential rather than the absolute finished product. So it's going to be interesting to see which way they go. But I still think that the midfield and defensively, I think we'll see reinforcements.
Yeah, I was going to say this question till the end. We ask our Discord users sometimes send questions, but you mentioned the age profile there, and perhaps this one, we got a question from MP Daniels. He said, if Barella's available, given these links to Newcastle recently, and Liverpool are known to like him, why do you think they aren't making a move for him? My guess, and is the age. I mean, I don't think, I might be wrong, £50 million feels like about what they're going to spend on somebody, perhaps, but I think a lot of eyebrows were raised when it was a player. I think it's been widely, I think Pep Linders wrote it in his book, how much they admired Barella, and then all of a sudden you see Newcastle, and like losing out on a player to Real Madrid is one thing, losing out to Newcastle, but it doesn't feel like Liverpool are ever really in this one. Do you think it is the age profile, like you mentioned before? All these other players that were linked with are in their early 20s, and Barella's 27.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of elements to it. I think that would probably be one, but I think also, the response from people...
26 rather, I'm going to correct me, 26.
Yeah. 26, yeah. But I think also probably the bigger reason would be that, the noises coming out of Inter and people well connected to them last night was that there's absolutely no chance that he'd be going anywhere for 50 million, that would be absolutely derisory, and that Inter don't want to sell him, and even if they did, you'd be looking at way beyond that. So I think it would be more, I think if Barella was seriously available for £50 million and there was a deal there to be done, I think that probably shifts the landscape, but I don't think that's the reality. And I know, although there's interest from Newcastle, I think the reports out of Italy were like, the idea that he's on the brink of going there isn't the case. And talking about profile, I think James Ward-Prowse was another name I think that I've seen mentioned the last week or so, and but again I was told he just doesn't fit the profile. And I think, was he 28? I think he is, Ward-Prowse, and You know, it just, I think, and again, I just don't think that one makes sense. I mean, you look at, you know, where he's at in his career, and, you know, would him in a starting midfield at Liverpool, you know, make the difference? I mean, I just no. You'd maybe have him as a squad player, but you know, I don't think he would want that, and I don't think it would make sense for the kind of money that it would take as well.
Hey guys, thanks for watching that clip. It was from Journo Insight, usually with Neil Jones this week with the excellent James Pearce. If you want to check out that entire show, it's available both in video and podcast forms over on redmenplus.com. We talk to Ramsey, Davies, defenders, Barella, and loads more. So yeah, redmenplus.com, go and check it out.
Hey, our 3-part documentary series, Bobby Firmino, Best in the World, is being released this June. And if you head to redmenplus.com and sign up, you're going to get early access to episode 1, exclusive access to episodes 2 and 3, and you're also going to get the full interviews with all of the contributors, including Jordan Henderson, Adam Lallana, Ian Rush, and so many more as well. Head to redmenplus.com.